How old were you when I first met my little Gina with Wang? Always at her dad's knee, and he said one day to me, "Do you mind looking after her, taking you to lunch while he did something growing up?" I guess it was because it was 50 years ago.
You know, haven't I been one of the luckiest people in Australia? I've had fabulous parents, and I adopted a big brother. So, with those sorts of supervisions, hopefully I have learnt something in the last 50 years.
Well, it's just amazing, I think, for all of us sitting here to think that this little girl has come back under not ideal circumstances to take over a family company that was, you could say, broke or on the verge of, at best. Did it ever cross your mind, Gina, like there's people, here you are now, not 10 anymore, not even 20, not even 30, not the youngest in the company, you would confess to that. Is Saint-Tropez, that's where the rich people go. I mean, why have you taken such a massive risk? You've proven your point. You're risking not being the richest lady in the world. Must feel terrible. Keep you awake at night. But this is is this the biggest investment ever made in Australia? This Royal?
I'm sure it wouldn't be the biggest investment, but it is the biggest debt financing that has been raised in the world's history, anywhere in the world, for a mainland resource project.
Led by little Gina Rinehart.
Well, us West Aussies have to do something, don't we? Yes.
But when you realise the
no,
scope of it, is there any time when you think it's just too much?
We had been working on this project since 1993.
Yeah.
When we first had the application. It would take a long time to go through all the things that happened that were really...
Yeah, but there's a catalyst.
There was really...
we are going to do this.
There were so many times we nearly lost this project, John. So it was just yet another step we can't actually construct without putting ourselves under a pretty significant debt burden. But I can assure you, before we even got to the stage, and even trying to achieve the significant debt funding is a risk factor. But before then, we certainly had other risks. Yeah.
But having chosen to take this risk, and now I think undisputably Australia's largest taxpayer, which people tend to forget, and that allows you to criticise more than most the way our taxation's being spent.
Well, John, I'm just worried about Australia. We are overspending. I think our government spending's out of control. Which politicians even know how our taxpayers' money is getting spent? A lot of them don't have a clue.
Did I ask you?
Well, no, I wouldn't know either. I don't think anyone in this room would know how our taxpayers' money is getting spent.
Well, we all read iron ore's going down, down, down.
It is.
There must be those in government who think, therefore, if you're the biggest taxpayer and iron ore's going down, revenue's not about to go shoot up, is it? Even I can see that.
Yeah, I wish a lot of other people saw it though, John, I really do. But, this is one of the things that, okay, the commodity prices, yes, they impact our company, of course they do. But they actually impact Australia a lot more. And what people tend to forget is that, our export industries, our commodities industries, they're not just the ones specifically in those industries that are affected. It's all the myriad of related industries. My goodness, a lot of the accountants and the lawyers sitting over here in Sydney offices are actually doing out their timesheets based on, the mining and related industries.
And I know you were close to Barnaby Joyce, for example.
Yes, I think very highly of Barnaby Joyce, but, you can't expect one man to do everything, and he's a Minister of Agriculture. But, I don't think Canberra sees clearly enough that
does Tony Abbott or Joe Hoggy talk to you about revenue?
I think they really the whole government really needs to see a lot more clearly that Australia is not in a good position right now, unfortunately, and with the commodities crash, which affects not just those industries but all the spread of the related industries, they really should be focusing very clearly and intently on significantly cutting government burdens, because we sell internationally. And that's the bit, we can't just pass them on to everybody in this room. We've actually got to be able to compete internationally. So that big fat slab of compliance costs, regulation expense, we've really got to get some people in Canberra and business people driving changes there. It is urgent. It is
silent business world.
Yeah, you're right, John. You've spoken about
I
that
think
for a lot, decades.
I think you've made
Decades.
the point that I think we all know one thing, that iron ore is going down, down, down. And of course those who financed you, as you said, the largest private financing of mining anywhere in the world.
Mainland.
Mainland. Well, I guess therefore those geniuses and experts and banks, how many banks are involved?
Well, we have 5 ECAs
Yeah.
and 19 of the world's largest banks, including 11 largest banks in the world. But let's
Did
not
they not
blame.
project iron ore prices into the future?
They, like most banks, use international forecasters, not the ones that instantly get on the media and think they know something because they read it in a newspaper article, but the ones who actually study day in, day out demand and supply demand.
Before we move on, would it be
And
fair to
so
say
in
those
that,
Sorry.
nobody was predicting, even the most conservative ones were not predicting the oil price crash that has happened. So let's not blame the banks. They were going, as banks do,
No, I'm not blaming them,
on
Gina. I'm
conservative forecasting, very conservative forecasting, and yet none of us predicted it would be as bad as this.
But for those who now say, the doomsayers who say it's going to go from 65 to 55 to 35 to zip, are they the same people who said it was going to keep going up and up and up?
There's a lot who get out there in the media who don't study anything, and they start to become an instant forecaster without doing the study of
You have done
like
the study,
this.
so what's going to happen?
Well, it is a little hard because you can't always predict what other countries are going to do with their economies. So it is far from a perfect science. But no, I do feel that the oil price will be down for quite some time. And will it be down forever? Of course not. There are cycles in these commodities, but while we have a bad cycle, as we truly do now, nobody predicted it would be this bad. This is the time where you have to cut costs. And there's one big fat slab of costs that is untouched.
You seem to be a bit pessimistic about government cutting spending, Gina. This is getting through, I think, all of us. But the growth of China itself, will it not be added to by the growth of India, Indonesia and other countries?
I have great positive thoughts for the growth of India under good government. I hear that Indonesia is going to be looking at what Prime Minister Modi is doing so successfully in India. So I think there are a lot of bright spots out there. But let's not forget, India's got very immense, high-quality reserves of iron ore itself, for instance.
So does China?
No, China
South
actually
Africa?
has... China has lower quality,
Yeah.
but they're investing big time in where serious opposition comes from in low cost.
So what would you say to
Africa.
Australians who think, we've got iron ore, they're going to have to come here anyway?
I don't agree with that philosophy. I meant there is iron ore in many places in the world, and as I said, China
How
is...
much dearer can we get before we start losing out to other?
Yeah,
We can't get any dearer.
we've
We're-
really
we're-
got to be serious
we're
about
topped
cost
out.
cutting. We've really got to, and the companies are doing what they can do, but there is some more fat there, and we need to get into that.
And Gina, personally, I've never known anyone to to divide public opinion like Gina Rinehart. I don't know whether it hurts you or whether it drives you.
I think envy or jealousy, which unfortunately leads to hate, is very difficult because it's very hard to rationalise with people like that. I think anybody who has a job,
But you don't need it, Gina.
No, I would like to
I
have a bit
read in
less.
that you're worth X billion. I don't know what a billion's like, but I mean, one would seem a lot. Most people in this room would cop $1 billion. Would anyone here work one more day if they got $1 billion? But do you ever think, with all the trauma, the troubles, the criticism, the carping, the media, that I'm off. I've had enough.
Well,
I'll
right now
hire
I've got
somebody.
a little bit of a duty on, and that's a mega project. So I'm
Yeah, I know.
certainly
But you
involved
could
in that
walk
one.
away and hire someone else to do it.
I think you still have to be a bit hands-on.
Do you
John.
want to?
I think it's.
It's
I think I can add some help.
Forever.
No, not necessarily forever, but I think right now in our company I can still add a bit of help. A positive contribution.
And having watched you closely growing up, and then more recently we've spent probably the last 20 years, or since your dad died, we've been closer than even when you were a kid. And I wasn't that old, much older myself. I just wonder whether you think there is an end game, or whether you think give yourself any time. Because even when I've been with you with Jack Cowan on his luxury hamburger boat, you're always be surrounded by personal assistants, always on that computer machine, always in touch with. When's your personal time?
You know, John,
Because I haven't seen it.
John, I don't think I'm much different from anyone else who's had a small company in difficulties as mine was, and also grown a company, because when you're with a small company or a small and growing company, it really, you can be wedded to it 24/7. If you've got a problem, it has to be looked at. So you can't just sort of disappear. So, I think anybody who's had a company in difficulties, anybody who's gone through growing a company, they do, it
But
does take time.
do you ever get hurt?
Yeah, of course.
Really hurt?
Yeah, of course. Mm.
You just hide it.
You put certain things on your face.
You happy?
Very. I've got the best friends I could possibly want. So I'm a very, very fortunate person. Yep.
And Gina, when I look at all the things you've taken, all the things your dad achieved, and you know how close we were,
Yeah.
he thought it was a silly bugger was his.
He actually thought this. I'm not going to say that, but
No.
he regarded John as a son. So I've got a big brother.
He actually wanted me to be the intermediary between him and Gina.
When
That
we
would have
disagreed.
changed both our lives, wouldn't it?
We disagreed
I would-
over
I would
Dad
put
going
the whole lot on a
into
horse.
communist countries and things.
Might have won. I certainly did. But I just noticed lately something I haven't discussed with you ever. I saw the renaissance of Australian swimming and Hancock prospecting at the end of the Olympic pool.
We've been
what's,
into
what's
swimming.
happening here?
We've been into swimming for more than 20 years.
Well, I noticed it last week.
It's probably not been that well advertised.
I wish I was still in the game. I'd get some business off you at last.
I remember meeting you in a lift one time in Melbourne, just accidentally,
Yeah.
and I didn't recognise you. Do you remember what you told me you did after that?
Well, I'll probably save it up.
You actually said you hit the pool and that I saved your life.
Yes.
He went into intense training after I said I hadn't recognised him, and I did not comment about the drinking.
No. And Gina did save my life once, which is another subject we won't go into, and that's why I say she would be a wonderful nurse. I call her my Florence, but I think she's Australia's Florence Nightingale. And Gina, can I just say, I know how much criticism hurts any of us. And I know how much, I think you've had more than anyone else I know, and yet you've achieved more than the other Australian I
John,
know.
it's not just criticism. You can handle that if it's fair. It's when they lie, when they misrepresent, when they, compile it with inaccuracies again and again and again. Anyone can handle criticism, but it's just never relenting left media things that.
But is
but
it,
when
is
I
it
go
going to
out,
drive you away?
But
Will it
when
drive you away from the
but
public
you know,
eye?
the thing is that when I go to meetings like this or other book launches, other speeches and things I give, the people who come up to me are what I know are Australians, the type of Australians I grew up with. This left-wing media is entirely different. It's not fair, it doesn't treat people with respect or sensibly or accurately, and it doesn't try to. Whereas if you talk to Australians, as I do when I go around to give my speeches around the country, It is entirely different, and people come up to you nicely in restaurants or wherever you happen to be, airports, whatever. And,
what does the ordinary
different.
everyday Australian say to you?
Good on you, keep going, things like that.
I agree.
I could go on to it. I've actually sent you a
Ladies
few.
and gentlemen, Gina Rinehart, good on you. Keep going.